Little Miss Magic is a pretty fun book with a really important message. However, there are a few things that with this that I think are worth mentioning. The first is that there's a Mr. Man character in this who is the wrong colour, and I will discuss that. We will look at it in a moment. But also, I'm not the biggest fan of Little Miss Magic's design. I don't think there's anything about her design that looks magical or whimsical or fantastical. She looks kind of boring and not very iconic, not very interesting. And that doesn't detract from how delightful and also important the story is, but it's unusual for having a Mr. Little Miss character who just looks really bland. This is the ninth Little Miss book, for reference, and we learn that Little Miss Magic has magic and she's able to conduct things, to act on their own, to behave on their own. The pot can pour, the knife can butter, things like that. It's all very exciting. And one day, Mr. Happy comes to her door looking not very happy at all. And Little Miss Magic, invites him in and says, "What's wrong?" And Mr. Happy reveals that Mr. Tickle is out of control. And Mr. Tickle is tickling everybody. Now, I just want to point out that that colour seems really inconsistent to me. That does not seem like the colour of Mr. Tickle. Now, to be perfectly honest, my camera is making it look more orange than it is from what I can see on my monitor. I don't know if that helps. He looks a lot more orange in the camera than he does in the book. If you have a copy of this book, have a look and let me know what you think. Does Mr. Tickle in this book look a lot more red than he should do? He looks. Mr. Tickle is obviously an orange. That's my character. My cat meowing there. He looks a lot more orange in the camera than he does in real life, but in this book, I feel like he looks a lot more red than he should do, and I'm spending far too much time talking about that. But the point is, the camera's showing him to be a lot more red there. I don't know if you can kind of see that, but I just feel like the color is way off, and that really stood out to me. As you can see there, though, he doesn't have long arms, and that's because Little Miss Magic uses her magic to teach him a lesson. And the moral of this story is that you shouldn't constantly tickle people because it can annoy them, it can upset them. You need to be mindful of how other people feel and how you can make them feel with your interactions. And Little Miss Magic has a very fun way for the reader to teach him that. He does look very funny with short arms. I do have a big problem with the first Mr. Man book. I've mentioned this before. In the Mr. Tickle book, which is the first book, Mr. Tickle goes around tickling everybody with no repercussions, none whatsoever. So I'm actually really pleased that in Little Miss Magic they address that and they say, hang on, you can't just go around doing that. You can't just tickle people at your fancy. So actually, I really like the message in this. I think it's really important. And the book itself, despite the pretty basic character, I think is pretty good.